Good morning and happy Tuesday. So, we've been talking about creating lasting change and the steps that you have to take and the beliefs that you have to have in order to create lasting change. All therapies can work. It's just a matter of when they work, the same thing always happens. And what happens is the person who wants to change suddenly gets enough leverage that they make that change. And it can happen in any of the types of therapies. The reason that we look at NLP or neuro linguistic conditioning is because it's faster. The thing with most of the therapies is they just take a long period of time, whereas neuroassociative conditioning does it quickly. So, one of the suggestions I gave you was to write down some things that you want to change, or at least one thing that you want to change. And the way to get the leverage is to think about what it's going to cost you if you don't change. So it's to take yourself out 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Where is your life going to be if you don't change? Smoking is a great example of this. We all intellectually know that it's horrible for you. There's very few things that are worse for your body than smoking cigarettes. It's incredibly expensive. It smells. It makes you age. It rots your teeth. It does everything bad. But yet people still do it. And why do they do it? It's because they focus on the short-term pain and not the long-term pain. They don't think about lying on that deathbed, drowning to death in their own fluids because their lungs can no longer kick out the carbon dioxide, and so they fill up with fluid and drown. They don't think about that. They think about, oh, short term, I might gain some weight, I might do some things. So if you wrote down some things that you want to change, one of the things to do is to write down, and you got to actually write. Okay, there's a big difference between writing and typing. Typing many things is perfectly fine. When it comes to your goals or when it comes to things like this, you need to write it down because it impacts a much larger portion of your brain than when you type. So you need to write down all of the reasons why this must change now, what it's going to cost you down the road if you don't change what you're doing right now. And you should write down at least 10 things. And as you write those things down, you should feel them. Who are you going to disappoint? Because remember, we'll do a lot more for other people than we will do for ourselves. Who are you going to disappoint? How are you going to feel 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now if you don't make this change? Why must it happen now? Write down like 10 things. Then write down all the things that you're going to gain once you make this change. How are you going to feel in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months? It's January 16th or 17th. Imagine it's the middle of July 2023 and you've made this change. And now you've lived this way for 6 months making this change. How do you feel? Who's proud of you? How proud are you of yourself? Feel those feelings. So you see, when you do this process, you're going to complete all of the steps that we're talking about. The steps are 3 beliefs: it must change, I can change it, and it must change now. Well, as you're doing all of these reasons that it must change, you're going to accomplish those 3 beliefs. Then you got to have 3 activities. Number 1 is you got to get leverage. Well, again, all the reasons why this must change. Number 2 is you interrupt your pattern. And by thinking about how this is going to impact you in the future, that's a great pattern interrupt. When you think about what is this going to cost you if you don't change, and you write it down and you actually feel those feelings. And then number 3 is you instill a new pattern. So the pattern interrupt, this is why, some people will go on like a juice fast when they start a diet. Now, there's no evidence that a fast or a juice fast or something along those lines actually has you lose weight more or quicker down the road. You end up losing the same amount of weight whether you do that or whether you do, a reasonable diet that lowers your calories, because losing weight is simply taking in less calories than you burn. However, the advantage to doing something like a juice fast is it interrupts your pattern. And that's the reason that those things are so effective, is because you reset yourself. Let's say you do a 10-day juice fast. When I did my significant weight loss. I lost like somewhere between 60 or 80 pounds several years ago. I did a 30-day juice fast. That was a long time. It was in August too, which was easier, I think. But the thing that juice fast did is it reset my taste buds and it reset all my habits. I no longer was craving salt. I would eat just, even if I ate just a regular piece of meat, it tasted incredibly salty. So chips or something like that was not even in the ballpark because I had reset my taste buds so much. So pattern interrupts are a really good thing. If you have a tendency to overeat, go out to a meal with family and friends and don't eat at all. Have that be your pattern interrupt. But pattern interrupts are a great way to reset what you're doing. And it's a necessary part of this process. So after you get all the leverage and you write down all the reasons why you need to change, all the reasons, what it's going to cost you if you don't change, and then what are you going to gain if you do change, now you need to do something to interrupt your pattern. If it's food, I would suggest some type of interruption that's like a juice fast. And again, talk to your doctor. You got to make sure it's something that you can do. But that's a great way to reset yourself. That's a great way to do something, even if it's only for 3 or 4 days, to reset yourself and then go on a really good eating plan. Another thing to do is to make commitments to people who will hold you accountable and to have there be consequences. Call somebody up that's going to hold you accountable and say, all right, I'm going to do this eating plan for the next 8 weeks. And here's my eating plan, and here's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to keep track of everything that passes my lips. And I'm going to show you what I've done to keep track of everything that passes my lips. And then have consequences. If I don't, I have to do something, and make it something outside of your comfort zone. Make it something that you really don't want to do. If I don't, I'll eat a can of Alpo. That's one that I've used before. If I don't, I'll whatever. I'll do something that you really don't want to do and commit. That is how you make lasting change, is you interrupt your pattern doing something like that. And then the new plan is the new pattern. The thing about all of this is if you get enough leverage, all of those things will happen automatically. The pattern interrupt, the new pattern, the beliefs, it'll all happen if you get enough leverage. Leverage is the key to creating lasting change. When somebody gets enough leverage, it happens in a heartbeat. And it happens actually effortlessly. It's the lack of leverage that causes the people to try to change and not change. That's why committing to somebody that will actually hold you accountable, and if you don't do what you say you're going to do, there being significant consequences to that. That's why that's so powerful, because it's going to give you massive leverage. After that, you're going to have all kinds of leverage that you're going to make this change happen no matter what. So I strongly encourage you to do something along those lines. And usually that person can't be your spouse, because your spouse is going to let you off the hook. It needs to be a friend who will not let you off the hook and commit to something that is really, really outside of your comfort zone. That's going to give you leverage. That's going to give you your pattern interrupt, and that's going to allow you to do this. But remember, as you do the reasons, also do the reasons what you're going to gain. I'll gain. You got to use pain and pleasure in order to motivate yourself, just like people in a commercial do. If you watched any of the football games this past weekend, that's what you're doing, is pain and pleasure becomes your motivators, and then that lasting change will happen, guaranteed. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Deanne, great to see you. Dave, great to see you too. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other.